final instalment on the landforms section of River Landscapes for AQA Paper 1. Today, it's all about the landforms of deposition. That is, what happens when the river deposits or drops what it's been carrying due to low energy, loss of energy in the lower course. So we're looking at specifically levees, floodplains and estuaries. And as a little tip today, when you're making your revision notes, make sure you're drawing diagrams. Make sure you're drawing really nice annotated, that means labelled diagrams to show these key features. So let's start with floodplains. Kind of does what it says on the tin. It's lower course flooding, and that results in lots and lots of deposition. Because as the river breaks its banks, deposition occurs in the surrounding area. That means the dropping of lots of what we call alluvium. Alluvium is a nutrient. It's actually a really, really rich mineral that returns to the soil, and that is actually fantastic for farming. So we get a lot of agriculture, don't we, on these flat floodplains due to the fact it's so flat, but also because of that rich alluvial soils. Don't forget as well, floodplains, there's a lot of controversy with floodplains because of the fact that we tend to build on them. And again, due to their flat nature. So let's talk about levees. When this flooding occurs and the deposition of bedload occurs, the smallest sediment is carried further away from the river in the flood, and closer to the river, larger bedload is deposited. And because it's larger, it builds up at the sides of the river, and it gives an appearance of a kind of false bank, a sort of artificial bank, when in fact it is actually primarily produced by the river flooding itself. So that's what a levee is. Finally then, estuaries. This is at the mouth of the river. This is where the river is really coming to its end. Huge loss of energy. And that is because the river by this point is so wide and so deep. So velocity really, really reduces. And we get what's called flocculation even. So flocculation is when the salt in the seawater it's really, really vital to this. When fine clay particles carried by the river meet the salt, they become sort of electrically charged and stick together in clumps. And that process is called flocculation. That means these sort of heavier clumps then sink rapidly to the bottom. Flocculation is a great term as well to use in an exam. The key difference here between estuaries and deltas is that estuaries are affected by tides. So the sea will actually contribute to the deposition and appearance of the estuary. And that's why they often look very sort of muddy, stodgy, I would say, and not particularly attractive. Think about, the Severn estuary, if you've ever seen it. Deltas, a lot more kind of structured with these kind of fingers, or what we call distributaries, as the river cuts its way through its own depositional sediment in front of itself and sort of forms these fingers. And we call this often a bird's foot appearance to a delta. And this is really where the action of the sea is very, very limited. And Cuckmere Haven on the south coast is a great example of that. So let's have a look at your revision questions for today. I've tried to link in flocculation, so make sure you go back and have a look at that again if you're not sure about what it is. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time for some more Mums Geography.